Hello, beautiful souls. I want to share an insight I had or have about relationships and what makes a good relationship. Specifically, what are the qualities of a relationship that make me want to stay in it? That are compelling me to put the energy into it necessary to keep it. And what are those qualities that if they're not there, I don't want to continue the relationship. Um, and this is, I've had a really big sort of existential question come up, which is, do I want to maintain a relationship with my parents right now? Do I want to put the time and energy into, a relationship with them? And I've done so much personal work over the past 20 years, minimum, um, of healing myself from a lot of things that I taught myself. I trained a lot of things I trained myself to do as a result of being with them. And a lot of them were behaviors that were fairly maladaptive as an adult. Um, so that's the nice way to say I had a lot of crap to unwind and deal with, having been their child. And that's not, for me, it's I trained myself to do a whole bunch of things, which was helpful at the time. And then as I grew up, it was not so helpful. So I've done a lot of work over the last 20 years to undo all that training or retrain, unwind, release, let go, and create, better, nicer, more beautiful patterns in my life. And so the question is arising, um, now that I don't have, these sort of like crazy emotional codependent needs. Um, do I want to be in relation with them? Oh, of course, there's the cultural questions. Oh my God, it's your parents. There's all those kinds of, they're the only ones. Luckily, in the process of forgiving them and all this stuff, I also, let go of the cultural need to be in relationship with them, though, of course, that's still there. Um, there's also the biological connections. And then there's also the idea that, there's some patterns that if I've truly changed them, then I would be able to, they are the most important people to test that out with, right? Because they're the ones that are going to trigger that the most. And also just to be able to share the learning and the growth and the unwinding of those patterns with them because they have some very similar patterns. So there's some more evolved reasons to have this relationship, um, instead of just like the sort of surface of biology and culture and things like that. And yet, when I sat and meditated, walked around and meditated, got quiet and really felt into this question: do I want to have a relationship with my parents right now? I realized that, okay, here's the two things that need to be there for me to have a relationship with them. And in fact, I feel like any deep relationship for me needs this, and that is compassion. And why am I saying two things? Well, because first it starts with compassion for self, right? And when I have deep compassion for myself, that also allows me to have deep compassion for other. So if I can come into a relationship with deep compassion for self and deep compassion for other, in this case, deep compassion for my parents, then I'm coming to the table as a responsible part of a relationship. And that is also what I'm asking them to do. I'm going to ask them, when you're ready to have deep compassion for yourself and deep compassion for me, for other, let me know. I'm ready. Because, it's one thing to be like, oh, I've done a lot of work. It's another thing to say, well, what does that even mean? You know, I didn't shovel ditches, right? I've been shoveling in here, and what I've uncovered is the capacity to have compassion for myself in all these crazy patterns and things that I do, that I share with them, and also compassion for them for having those as well. So what I'm not saying is that I don't have patterns. I don't have problems. I'm, coming to them like, oh, beautiful and clean and, rainbows and unicorns. I'm not saying that. And I'm also not asking for that from them. I'm asking for something I think much more realistic, and in that sense, much harder, because it actually incorporates the whole self, all of me. I'm not going to repress parts of me, and I'm not asking them to repress parts of themselves either. Deep compassion for self, deep compassion for other. I'll let you know how it goes. Hope that helps. See you next time.